Welcome. So I'm going to talk about how I make ideas into stories. And it took me a while to make this video because I wanted it to be complete. I wanted to have dissected my writing process as much as possible to give you a complete video instead of being like, oh wait, later on. And then having to make like a follow-up video or something. I think I figured out that I have about 3 different ways in which ideas come to me and how I turn those into stories. So, why isn't this moving? Okay. So these are all based on my experiences. I'm a fantasy writer. I'm also a pantser, meaning you're not going to hear anything about outlining a story or plotting a story. And I've been a writer for 15 years, and I hope that what I say will maybe help you a little bit. So yeah. So the question that I see people asking this question on Facebook writing groups. How do you turn an idea into a story? How do you even begin? But I am not going to tell you how to do that. So I don't like when writing advice people tell you to do things. So I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you how I did it. And then maybe what I did can maybe, I don't know, inspire you. Who knows? We'll see. So this video is not scripted, and there is stuff on the screen which you can read if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just listen to me. So how do I go from an idea to a story? I didn't initially think that I could actually make this video because I am a pantser and I don't have a process, or do I? I saw this YouTuber, I think her channel name was Mik Writes or something like that, and she makes videos about how she comes up with a story and then how she moves forward. I think she's a plotter, but seeing that made me realize, wait, maybe I actually can figure something out, really dissect my process, figure out exactly how I do it. If people would ask me, like, how did you come up with this story? I just start with, well, an idea just came to me one day. But is that true? Did an idea really just come to me one day? Or is there actually something going on there? Are there actually some patterns and things that I fall into every time I write a story that I haven't realized before? So, that YouTuber, I forgot her name. It was Mik Writes or Rick Writes or Mick, something like that. I'll leave her a link to her channel in the description, so you can go and check her out. And yeah, so after watching her video of how she creates a story, I thought, maybe I could do that. So the only thing that I knew about my sort of writing process was that I come up with an idea, and then I make an extended board. I go to Pinterest and find some pretty things and put them together and say, this is what the story is. But that's not all I do. So, my avatar is going to wiggle. You can have me on in the background and listen and see what happens. And this is completely unscripted, although I do have notes in my slides, so I can follow that so I don't go off on too many tangents. So, without further ado, the first thing, the first way, an idea, the first type of idea, I suppose. The first type of idea is character first. So basically, a character comes to me first. I don't know their situation, like what kind of situation they're in at the point of their story. I don't know anything about their family or anything like that. It's just the character, one of the main characters by themselves comes to me. And so back in, gosh, this is going to be like 10 years ago, geez, 2014, I had this idea that I would write a story based on a story of a character based on the saying, it can't get any worse, can it? So this character, Henry, he is the epitome of failure. It's like whatever he does, nothing goes well for him. The only time something does go well is, oh, I was going to have the Wattpad logo flip up with the cover, but apparently that didn't happen. I don't know why that didn't happen. Anyway, slight mistake. So the story is on Wattpad right now. You can go and read it for free right now. And so Henry's story is like nothing goes well for him, and he just keeps on failing and failing and failing, and then he just hits rock bottom, and then something good happens. He turns his life around, or so we think, because he turns into a criminal. So as you can see, Henry's the epitome of failure. So he wants to succeed in society, whatever that looks like. And he wants to make his father proud, but he fails to do those things. And when he does succeed, when he does think he's making a name for himself, he's gone into a crime organization. So is it good? Not really. So he does kind of fail still. So his character came to me as like, I'm going to write a character that just fails. It can't get any worse, can it? And then it does. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse for him. And so I had this idea, right? So that's an example of character first. Back in 2014, I wasn't really using Pinterest. Can't really remember when I started using Pinterest to collect photos of inspiration and just make nice little aesthetic boards and stuff like that. I'm thinking around 2016 or 17 even. Like, I wasn't really doing anything particular with Pinterest. I think I did have it, but I didn't really know how to use it and how it would be useful for me as an author. Now I use it all the time. So that was back in 2014, right? So now when I have an idea for like a character, like I had this idea for a Dragonoid prince. So I just started collecting inspiration pics online or on Pinterest and just put them together. And the next thing that I do after I come up with a character is that I think of a unique action. And what I mean by unique action is that what the character is doing is unique. So, Henry's story, The Facade of Quad and Nimrod, the first time I wrote it, the beginning, the opening is different than what it is now because I've since edited it and stuff like that. So it's different. But initially I had him talking out loud to himself, to an imaginary brother figure. So now that I have him talking out loud to himself, to imaginary brother figure, I have to figure out, okay, wait, why is he doing this? Who is this? Is this brother figure actually imaginary? Or is it actually someone that exists? Um, my avatar stopped moving. There we go. Um, is it actually someone that exists? What does his family think about it? Who is Henry? Like, what is he doing right now? Where is he? So, so it's sort of not really motivated me, that's the word. It motivated me to figure out what is going on. So in order to figure out what's going on, I have to continue writing the story, right? So I just start writing the story, and I write till I feel satisfied that, okay, I figured something out here. And if I stop, I go and look for more inspiration on Pinterest. That's the second time I go to Pinterest to look for inspiration. This is the time where I usually have a better idea about the world and the characters and the vibes and if there is any magic or anything. So around this time, I start collecting more specific things like character outfits, maybe building like the architecture, like what the era is, the vibes, if it's dark or if it's lighthearted or if it's epic, magical, fantastical. Are there any fantastical creatures? Are there any fantasy creatures here? Some fantasy aesthetics, like if there's someone with fire powers, I just look up fire powers and then aesthetics, and then there's like a picture of a hand with fire on it, coming out of it. So collect those sort of things. Pictures of objects, depends. These objects, like if I think the character has weapons, like a sword or an axe or something, I might look up like fantasy axe or fantasy sword or something like that and collect those into the collection, into the Pinterest board. Sometimes I look for nature photography, like if I have an idea of, okay, so this is taking place in the countryside, or this is taking place in the city, then I start collecting photos like that, and I just keep going and going until I feel like I've exhausted most of it. And then I make an aesthetic board of the story and the main character or main characters, if there's many. And then I stare at it for a while. And then I go write some more. And then I repeat that process. I don't do a third. Sometimes I do a third Pinterest run, but I usually stop at the second. Like by the second time, I'm like, because Pinterest you can go down a giant rabbit hole with Pinterest too. I find like a photo that I like. Oh, what is this? And it has nothing to do with the story. And I think, oh, this is nice. I'm going to click this, and then they show you related photos, right? So then I started going down this rabbit hole of, I don't know, dark fairy tales or something. And the story that I come up with has nothing to do with dark fairy tales. So I get stuck into the Pinterest rabbit hole. But yeah, I usually just do 2 runs. And then maybe sometime a lot later, I might want to create an aesthetic board, another one with different pictures. And maybe then I would look up more stuff to add into the aesthetic board. So that is character first. Character first is, I would say, it happens quite a bit for me. Character first. A certain type of character. I'm not sure exactly what kind of situation they're in the beginning, but I knew who this character is, and they're unique in some way. Another character first example is a sorcerer boy who is his magic is delayed. Like the development of his magic is delayed, and he is currently held back in his school. So he can't advance to the next level because his magic is delayed. And they're like, you need to do something about it. And so that isn't really his, it's sort of like his situation, but it's not really. It's more about, who the character is. And I have to figure out, okay, where does this story begin? And then I have to put him in a situation. So his deal is that he's delayed. So maybe the situation I put him in is when his professors tell him that you didn't make it again this year either. So this is your last chance. And that will be how the story begins. And then I have to figure out, okay, so if this is his last chance, then what is he going to do about it? Can he do anything? And what is his life like being delayed while all his peers have passed him? And he's also different in other ways. So what is his school life like? What is his home life like? And what happens to his powers? Like, how do they change and stuff like that? So then now we already have a story going on. So that is character first. I'm wondering if other people have this where a character comes to them first. The character is like, here I am, this is me. That's from the horse animated movie Spirit. It's one of my favorite animated movies of all time, I would say. I could watch that over and over and over and over and over and over and not get tired of it. It's such a great story. It's such a great story. Ugh. Have you watched Spirit? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so the next one, the next idea way, the next type of idea, the next idea fashion. I don't know what to call these. What do you call them? Anyway, the next one is a character in a situation pops into my head. So this isn't just the character. Actually, I barely know anything about the character, apart from like their gender, their age. That's about it. It's in their name sometimes. Sometimes their name pops up. But they are just in a situation already. So an example comes from Jack of All Trades, which is a book I have up on Wattpad. You can go and read it for free if you want to. It's about this charismatic, manipulative art gallery owner, Jack. And he has a secret in his past, which catches up to him in the form of a friend that he betrayed. And so this friend, Norman, comes and ruins one of Jack's biggest art gallery events. And so now Jack has to be on the run. And on top of that, he found this jewel vendor on the side of the street. And now this jewel that he bought from the vendor is talking to him, telling him that it's a dragon. He is not exactly sure what is going on because he doesn't really believe in magic. Although he has a curse put on him, which is magic. So you wonder, like, hey, Jack, you have a curse that's magic, but he doesn't really believe in magic. The curse lets him hear people's thoughts, frontmost thoughts, and he can't really control it. So he's got all this stuff going on for him, and he's on the run. Maybe dragons are involved. It's also my attempt at steampunk, so if you like that kind of stuff. Jack is also, I would say, he is very manipulative and charismatic, kind of sassy. He meets this girl who is also kind of sassy. So I like their back and forth quite a bit. Yeah, anyway, you can go check it out on Wattpad, Jack of All Trades. Anyway, so Jack came to me in a situation. So the situation he was in is that I knew his name was Jack. I tried to give him another name, like a more, I don't know. Sorry to all the Jacks out there, but Jack is quite a common name. So I wanted to give him a more exciting name, but he said, no, my name is Jack Ogswald, and you're going to go with that. And I'm like, okay, fine. So he came to me as this guy in a fancy suit, walking in some dark streets while it's raining, so it's miserable. He is down in the dumps. This is the scene where he's hit rock bottom. I don't know why this scene came to me, this situation, because my avatar stopped wiggling. I don't know why this scene came to me. I wasn't really looking at any like pictures like that or anything like that, but it just came to me one day, and I was like, you know what? I gotta write this story. I gotta figure out what is going on. Who is this Jack guy? What happened to him? Like, I knew at that point, of that situation point, that he used to be famous. He used to be liked by many people. He had many friends, and he would always get his way. And also, he hasn't been in rock bottom for quite some time. Also, his own actions got him there. So the things that he's done have got him there. Sort of like his past caught up to him type of thing too. I also knew the setting was going to be sort of Victorian-esque, maybe steampunk. I wasn't sure about the steampunk part because I've never written steampunk. And I haven't really read a lot of steampunk either. I don't really know what's good out there. I might have read some steampunk, but that was after I wrote Jack of All Trades. Before that, not really. I think Perdido Street Station by China Miéville is considered steampunk, I think, although I'm not entirely sure. You can tell me. And also give me some recommendations for steampunk books if you have any. That will be much appreciated. So I have those elements of the situation in my brain, and my job now is to figure out how did he get there, what is happening now, and how will he get out of this situation. Like, he's at rock bottom, but this wasn't like the end of the story. This was like the middle of the story. I had the sense this was in the middle, and he was going to somehow get out of this situation. I wasn't exactly sure how. So that is when I then have to think, okay, this is where he is. How did he get here? So then I have to go to that thing where I think of a unique action that the character is doing. I decided I would try, you know what? He is at what is some unique situation that I've never put any of my characters into yet? What have I not done? How about a hospital? A hospital. He is at a hospital waiting to be called, and they butcher his last name. And that is when I realize, okay, so this story is going to be a little bit funny. It's going to be a little bit silly. So then I thought, what is something even weirder to happen? What if he can hear people's frontmost thoughts, and that is a curse, which is causing him headaches, which is why he is at the hospital. I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere here. I'm not sure how I'm going to run with this, but okay. And so the way he can hear people's thoughts, I'm thinking, you know what? Let's make it even weirder and more unique. He has to touch the left side of somebody to hear their frontmost thoughts. It can't be a cyborg arm. It has to be a real arm. A real human flesh arm that he can hear people's frontmost thoughts. And I'm like, okay, so this is where we're going. And so once I gave this sort of weird limit in how he can use his sort of cursed powers, then it becomes very interesting. Like if he wants to hear someone's frontmost thoughts, he has to touch the left side of somebody. He has to touch the hand or the arm without it being too weird. But it ends up being weird because that's a weird thing to do. But he is also able to, because he's a manipulative, charismatic guy, he is also able to also do it smoothly. So now I have a very interesting character on my hands. And of course, nobody is going to believe me if he has this curse. No one's going to believe him if he has this curse. So he and he also doesn't believe in magic. Although he knows he has a curse, which is weird. So he causes a scene in the doctor's office, and then later outside of the doctor's office. And at that point I thought, you know what? I got myself a troublemaking character. I also made him an unreliable character. So he is lying to himself. He is also hiding a lot of himself from the reader. So it's like unreliable narrator, but it's not first person. So it's been an interesting story to write. So that is one example of scene first. Now I want to get into another example of scene first. This is something that happened recently. So recent, it was yesterday at the time of recording this video. So this other example, I'm calling it Captain Aldo and a Magic Pre-Sorcerer Guy. This situation came into my mind. This guy is leaning down in this hallway, which is like a dark brown wood everywhere, and there's some like golden lights on the ceiling, and it looks kind of old-fashioned. And this guy, he is on his knees on the floor looking through the crack on the door, and there's some light coming from under the door, and he's trying to see someone in there. He knows someone is in there, and he smacks his hand down on the floor and he says, "Captain Aldo, I know you're in there," in a sort of concerned way, like he's concerned about the person that is inside who won't come out. Also, he's a sorcerer priest guy. Also, I know that there is somebody standing with the sorcerer priest guy with his arms crossed. Can't really see him, don't really know who he is or what he's doing there, and sort of just staring and waiting. So that is a situation. I also know what Captain Aldo looks like, sort of. He looks like a military sea captain or pilot type of guy. If you're able to look at the screen now, I have a photo up that I found on Pinterest, kind of like this, but a little bit more blue, kind of sailor military-esque, and he has a hat on, sort of a sailor type of hat, pilot type of hat. I don't really know how to describe it. And he's sort of standing in his room, looking very stern, not sure what is going on. I also know for some reason that Captain Aldo and also this guy who was on the floor are either trying to be in a relationship or they are in a relationship or something. They're also adults, not teens or anything. So I don't really know what to do with this. Okay, so there are some situations that come into my mind like this. Sort of, I don't know if they're going to become story ideas or not, but it is a scene first. So I just wanted to give you that example. I have no idea where, if I would take this story somewhere, where it would go and how I would. No, absolutely no idea. Also, if this is anywhere romancy, I don't know if I could pull it off. But if they're already together, then maybe it would work for me. But it's hard for me to write romance because I'm ace and I don't really understand how it works. Like, love at first sight too. It's like, what? I have no idea. Anyway, that is scene first. I'm wondering if you guys have that. If you are like me and you're thinking of a story and the first thing that comes to your mind is a certain situation that the character is in at a certain point in the story. Not necessarily the beginning of the story. It's usually it's like in the middle that this comes to mind. I don't know if this particular scene with the guy, with the Captain Aldo guy, is like in the middle of the story. I have no idea. But this scene came to mind yesterday. So I thought it was interesting because I was going to record this video today. Maybe I was thinking about, I don't know. Anyway. Clickety click. Okay. This is the final idea type that I get. Story idea type. Photo/art first. So these two photos here are from Pinterest. This first one is, I found there was nothing on Pinterest that said where it was from, but I was able to find that it's from a video game called A Plague Tale: Innocence. And there's this other one, which also, yeah, it's from The Witcher apparently. So, sometimes for practice, I go to Pinterest and find a photo that I like or a piece of art, use it as inspiration and create a little flash fiction. And sometime last year or the year before, I happened to find this, the one that says A Plague Tale: Innocence, that one, and thought, you know what? I think I have a story for this. So I started writing a story for this, and the idea was that the little boy is born with fire powers that are considered to be evil in his kingdom. And so his mother lets him go, helps him to escape, but she is then murdered. And so he is sort of like, I don't trust authority, and he has to run away and hide and stuff like that. So that was like the first one. And then I thought, fire powers. What if I find some art that looks like the boy as a teenager, using his fire powers? He's sort of like a rebel/thief. That would be like a natural progression of things, wouldn't it? So then I found this one from The Witcher, and I decided, okay, so what would this boy be like in his teenage years? And then I wrote a flash fiction for that. And then I thought, are there any other characters, fire powers? And so I look up fire powers, and I find all these other characters' art. And I thought, I'll just pick one and just imagine that this boy is now meeting these characters. So then I ended up with a whole series of tiny bits flash fiction, not just of the boy, but using other characters as the main character. And now I have this little sort of series of sort of puzzle pieces, like fragments, which could end up being a whole novel or a bunch of novels. And so then I had the idea of, okay, so I have all these. Put them all together, create some consistent lore around it, and I could write some novels. Actually, I didn't really plan out, but I thought about, why don't I write 8 novels? I don't know how that would be possible, actually, but maybe it will, who knows. So this was a case where the photo/art was the beginning, was the idea. This has actually not happened before. I have written stories based on photos, like inspired by photos and art and stuff like that, but not like a whole series of flash fiction that are taking place in the same world and related to each other, and there's recurring characters and stuff like that. I've never done that before, actually, so I don't know how to move on from here. I'd probably just start with the first book, just about the boy, but I have to figure out the pacing, how fast am I going to move from his childhood to his teen years. I have no idea how I'm going to do that, actually. So this is going to be something I might update you on, like how I went from a bunch of separate little flash fictions to a whole novel series. I'll let you know how that goes if and when I get to it. So that is photo art first. I wonder if you guys have this where you see a photo, so I have a story for that. And then you end up writing a whole bunch of them which are related and which take place in the same world with recurring characters, and then somehow you think, yeah, maybe I can make this into a novel or a novella. I wonder if you've had that. I'd like to know. So, photo art first. So that is the end. We've had character first, where just the character without the situation comes to mind, like Henry, who is the epitome of it can't get any worse, can it? The epitome of failure, a poster child of just not doing well no matter how hard he tries. It's a satire, by the way. Second one was scene first, or situation first, in which I see a character in some situation, usually towards the ending, which is like just before the climax, the sort of middle part, the sort of downfall of the character, or a sort of difficult time in the story for the character. Scene first. And then we have photo art first, which is a unique and unusual thing for me because it's only happened for this particular Firepower Child series. It hasn't happened. Usually the first hasn't happened before. Usually the first two are the ones that happen for me. So anyway, that is how I go from idea to story. I come up with idea, and then that is how I create the story for the first two. At least I'm 100% sure that's how I do it. The third one, I'm not entirely sure how I will do it, but stuff, work in progress. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope maybe you found something inspirational or helpful or something, and just know that I'm a fantasy writer pantser. And those are just my opinions. I'm just a fox, and please discuss nicely in the comments down below. If you have any thoughts, please share, and if you have any different ways in which ideas come to you and then how you change them, turn those into a story, please share. It'd be interesting to see if we are similar or different in any way. And anything else, like, subscribe, YouTube things. So anyway, you won't see me, you will hear me in the next video. If you want my sort of reactions to writing advice articles and stuff, you can go to my main channel, which is Fox in Thoughts, and you can find me over there. Of course, I'll put a link in the description, so it'll be easy for you. And if you want to discuss writing advice with me, you can go to the Wacky Writers writing forum, which is free to join, and I'm on there a lot, and we can discuss writing advice, like what is the best way to give advice, or some pieces of advice that worked for you or didn't work for you, or the problems of writing advice online, or whatever you want. You can find me there on Wacky Writers. you can go and join, and you can talk with other writers. There's so many other great writers on there who would be very, very willing to chat about writing and techniques and skills and stuff like that, and give advice. And you can also rant about your story if you want, or ask opinions of things and stuff like that. So it's a good time. It's a nice little community, and yeah, you'll find me there. So that's the end of this video. You will hear me in the next one, and I hope you have a lovely day. And is there anything else I'm missing? I don't think I'm missing anything else. Keep hydrated. That's a good thing to say. Yeah. The fox is out.